It has been a long season that's literally gone around the world. But now, only one weekend remains. Those chasing World Sprint and World All-Round Glory take to the Max Eicher Arena in Inzell. Today and tomorrow, the fastest of the fastest take to the ice at one of Europe's fastest ovals for the ISU World Sprint Championships. A 500 today, a 500 tomorrow, a 1,000-meter today, and a 1,000-meter tomorrow. 4 races to decide World Sprint Champions. Welcome to Inzell, everyone. My name is Gavin Day. Excited to have the call for this weekend's races. We'll enjoy a look around before we get into the arena for the start of the women's 500 meters. Just moments away from the very first pair, and it's going to be one skater in the women's 500 meters. You see the conditions warm outside, and a look inside the Max Eiser Arena. Pardon me, I'm all over myself. The Max Eicher Arena. There we are. One of the fastest ovals in all of Europe. It's at about a 700-meter elevation, 10,000 capacity. You see the start list for the women's 500 meters. It's the training base for the German side. The former training home of Anni Friesinger, the 3-time world all-around champion and 1-time sprint champion, or should I say Anni Friesinger Postma. She and Ids Postma create quite the speed skating married couple. This oval is used for inline in the summer, amongst other things. It's the only indoor oval in all of Bavaria, and as I mentioned, the National Training Center. There's a look at Femke Koch, certainly one to watch for this weekend's action. And the first pair, as I mentioned, just one skater, Lea Sophie Scholz of Germany. She is also going to be skating in the World All-Rounds. So certainly going to be a very tired skater by the end of this weekend. Scholz, 24, from Berlin. Scholz, the 24-year-old, originally from Berlin. 37th overall in the 1,000-meter standings on World Cup, 39th in the 1,500. So she does more of the 1,000 and 1,500-meter double. The 500 meters, may not be to her forte, but of course in the world sprints, 2 500s, 2000s to crown the overall champion. As is always the case, the higher seeded skaters to come later on in this race. And Leah Sophie Schultz will set the fastest time. We'll get the graphics up for you shortly. There you have it, 39.72. And the way the scoring is done, the lower the score, the better you do. And everything is based upon a 500-meter race. So if she goes up there, she'll get the time that she skates in the 500 meters is the amount of points that she gets. And then in the 1,000 meters, they take that time and divide it by 2. You'll see the same sort of thing in the all-rounds this weekend as well. So everything is based upon a 500-meter bar, so to speak. And coming up, it is the battle of the Shumekova sisters, Inessa and Kristina, both from Kazakhstan. You want to differentiate them, it's the armband. Here's Inessa, the 20-year-old, the older sister in the white armband, and Kristina, 17. Two very young Kazakhstani speed skaters. Inessa was in Calgary for the world single distances, 24th in the 1,000 meters. She also did some Neo Seniors World Cup events this year in Italy. Kristina, meanwhile, spent a lot of the season on the juniors. 18th in the World Juniors in the 1,000 meters, 10th in the 500. She was also the flag bearer at the opening ceremonies for Kazakhstan in Korea not too long ago. So certainly sibling rivalry here, and a look at the future of the program from Kazakhstan. And they will come around. And it is, I believe, Kristina taking that pair. I already got confused looking at the armbands there. We move these things right along pretty quickly. The men are still to come. And then we'll switch around to do the 500. So yes, it was in fact Kristina with a new personal best, 39.76. Inessa going 40.07. So they are second and third at the moment. The time by Leah Sophie Schultz still holds up. Next pair as Madison Pierman of Canada and Iga Wojtasek of Poland. There is Pierman. And Wojtasek, new 500-meter personal best set in Quebec at the World Cup stop there in February. Wojtasek been putting up some personal bests on those North American ice surfaces. The 500 was set in Quebec. She also set a 1,000-meter personal best in January in Salt Lake City. Fast opener for her. 0.3 of a second in the green at the moment, and she'll get a little bit of a draft behind Pierman there, ducking into the faster, or the inner lane rather. Keeps the legs turning over around that corner to maintain the speed into the final 100 meters. Wojtasek going to take the pair. And she will go fastest. And Pierman goes second fastest. 39.13 for Pierman, 38.65 for Wojtasek. And as I mentioned, 4 races to decide the champion. So this is just step 1 on that road to World Sprint Champions. Always the interesting thing to see. You'll see the 500-meter specialists and the 1,000-meter specialists. You look at the last time this was held in the Netherlands, Femke Kok taking both of the 500-meter distances, and her teammate, Jutta Leerdam, taking both of the 1,000-meter disciplines. And then, of course, it comes down to points from there. Moving on, Anna Ostlander, another home skater. She's from Inzell, hometown skater. Let's get to see the ovation she gets. Julie Nistad Samsonson, the 23-year-old from Bergen. Cleanly away. Samsonson competed in the 500 meters at the Olympics in Beijing, picking up a 24th place. All of her international successes come via the team sprint. Bronze at the 2022 World Sprints, bronze at the 2022 and 24 European Championships, and also a bronze at the 2019 World Juniors. Chasing individual glory, though, here today. And coming around to the end, Auslander from Inzell knows this ice very well. And she'll go fastest, 38.44, liking that one. Samsonson goes third by 14 hundredths of a second, new personal best for Auslander. That's knocking about 2/10 of a second off of her personal best, which is 38.64. And this is the time to set personal bests. Good way to start our final races of the season. Next heat has a skater from Belgium, the Dutch-born skater from Belgium, Isabelle van Elst, born in Bennebroek in the Netherlands. Her 500-meter personal best was set in Heerenveen, so on some slower ice. And Sophia Thorpe of Denmark. We'll start on the outer. Here's a look at Erin Jackson. 500s will be her time to shine at World Sprints. 1000s will be her time to hang on. But these are the two we're watching right now. Cleanly away, Van Elst. Her 500-meter personal best came back in 2020, so whenever there's a time, it's been a few years, and certainly the time to do it could be on fast ice. And it is Van Elst out in front, recently picked up a bachelor's degree in art history. And Thorpe switched nationality after getting married to Victor Hald Thorpe. Originally beating for Russia, now for Denmark, and it is still Van Elst. And she is going to take the pair, go 38.89, 39.07 for Thorpe. So not a personal best for either of the skaters. Still Auslander leading the way. There will be 14 pairs in all, and some real heavyweight tilts coming near the end. But right now, we have Kim Min-ji of Korea, a 23-year-old, up against another one of the young skaters from Kazakhstan, one we've seen plenty on World Cup this season, Alina Dauranova, the 20-year-old. Picked up a team sprint bronze medal in Quebec City on World Cup. There's a quick look at Kimmy Getz there right before the start, getting her head in the zone. Great season she's had. She'll go in the last pair, but it's been a great start for Kim Min-ji, one of the fastest we've seen. Dauranova a little bit behind her. It is Kim trying to keep the stride length as long as possible. Shorter stride length coming down to the line means you're losing some speed. And it is Kim who will come and take the pair just 0.08 of a second off the pace. 38.52, 38.64 for Dauranova. So Kim, a little bit off her personal best by just under 0.2 of a second. She will sit second right now through 6 pairs. And the final pair of the first half is all Polish battle. Martina Baran against Karolina Bosiek. Baran 27, Bosiek 24. And again, the armband will tell you who's who. Baran with the white, Bosiek with the red. There's Bosiek. 13th in the 1,000 meters at the World Championships in Calgary. And 13th in the 500 meters of the 4 continents in Salt Lake City earlier this year. And we'll see who false started. We wait for the flag. And there you go, red armband. That is Karolina Bosiek. Very subtle. Should be noted the track record here is 37.12. That was set by Vanessa Herzog of Austria back in 2019. Herzog skates in the 11th pair. And very even between these two skaters. Poland recently held its own sprint championships last month at the end of February. And a very close opening, shaping up to be a very close race overall. It is Bosiek with the slightest of leads. And she crosses both of them in the green. 1-2, 38.15 for Bosiek, 38.29 for Baran. So by 0.3 of a second, Bosiek moves atop the leaderboard. So it's now Polish skaters first and second. It's nice to see all the traveling crowd. You see plenty of Norwegian flags. Of course, there's plenty of Dutch orange, and there you have some Polish fans in attendance. There's a look at Jutta Leerdam. Next pair, Martine Ripsrud. On the inner lane, Elias Smeding of Great Britain on the outer. Ripsrud, 10th at the World Sprints 2 years ago in Heerenveen, and Smeding 9th at those same championships. Ripsrud was 18th in the 500 meters in Calgary last month at the World Single Distances. And Smeding was 21st in the 500. Smeding runs the gamut, really, the 500, 1,000, and 1,500. And the 1,000 is more to her liking. It is Ripsrud with the faster opening. Smeding coming up on the inside lane. Very, very close from the looks of things, but it is Smeding pulling away late. Long strides to the line, and she'll go second by just 0.04 of a second. Looks like she is happy with that one. As I mentioned, her bread and butter might be more in the 1,000, but that is a very good 500 meters for her. And if I'm not mistaken, just letting myself confirm, that is a new personal best for Elias Smeding. By a couple tenths of a second anyway. Smeding and Cornelius Kirsten really the standard bearers for that Team GB side, both training and living in Herenveen. Now we have the first of the Dutch skaters, but keep an eye on that inner lane. Miho, the great Miho Takagi, she is in line for a very, very busy weekend here in Inzell. Isabel Grevelt, 21 years old, from the Netherlands. It's interesting to see Takagi in such a relatively early pair. It's because she doesn't often do the 500 meters. Of course, the world champion from both the 1500 and the 1000 in Calgary. Her first ever world single distance championships. That was such an amazing realization that she had never won a world single distance championship before. But keep in mind, Takagi is the silver medalist in the 500 meters from the Beijing Olympics, and she was in the green early at the 100-meter time split. She is in front by Grevelt with a healthy margin now. Takagi, the presumptive fastest time, indeed she is, by just over a second, 37.13, just off the track record by 1/100th of a second. And also 1/100th of a second off her personal best. Grevelt also, not to be outdone, 38.03, moving into second place. And despite her long list of accomplishments, you always love to see the excitement about a result, and she quickly, stoicism returns with just a nice wave to the crowd. And next pair, Lee Na-yoon of Korea against Serena Perger of Italy. Part of this young youth movement in the Korean side. Lee, 18 years old. Perger, not much older, 20. False start called. Looks like it is to Lee. Just a little bit of a slide forward there. Of course, now the skaters are living dangerously. This time cleanly away. It looked like it was Perger quickly off the line, but Lee matching her. And this is going to be a very tight opening 100 meters. Slipped from Perger there. That's going to cost her some speed. 0.03 of a second the difference. Lee was 7th in the 500 meters at the World Single Distances in Calgary. 17th in the 1,000. So this is going to be where she's going to pick up her points. You would think based on her better results in the 500 meters. 18 years old against the 20-year-old. A look at speed skating's future in the sprints, perhaps, and it is going to be Lee taking the pair. She will go sixth fastest, 38.32, 38.57 for Per Gare. And so, one challenge survived by Miho Takagi. Still the only skater to go into the 37 range, and that was by a wide margin. Look at Takagi liking that one. Very good early returns, but of course a long way to go for her. 1,000 meters still to come. She'll do this all again tomorrow, and then she'll be questing for the World All-Around Championship as well. 11th pair, Vanessa Herzog, the owner of the track record. And Yamada, 26 years old. 7th in the World Sprints 2 years ago. Aaron Jackson still to come. Takagi going for the double World All-Around and World Sprints, and if anyone can do it, certainly she can. And through the opening, it's Herzog with a 10.57, Yamada 10.71. Hasn't been Herzog's best season on World Cup. A regular visitor to the podium the last few years, was not able to do it this year. And the woman from Innsbruck leading around this pair, Yamada, is well behind, and Herzog goes second fastest, 37.57, so inside a half second of Takagi's time. Not a bad result from her. Takagi not too fussed at the moment. For Herzog. Might actually close to her fastest time this season. Herzog in Salt Lake City earlier this year put it up a 37.50. So close. And now Tian Ruining going up against Femke Koch. As I mentioned earlier, she won both the 500 meters at the World Sprints 2 years ago. And so this is certainly her specialty. Tian has also been on the podium in the World Cup in the 500 meters. And it is Koch with the fastest opening, 10.38. She will see if she can get sucked into that slipstream a little bit down the back stretch. Watch the turnover on the corners, keeping that speed going, and it is Koch in front of Tian, rather. And she could set the new fastest time, and she does by 0.06 of a second, and a new track record for Femke Koch. 37.07. Just 0.06 of a second. Already shaping up to be a close battle. And still 2 more pairs with some very fast skaters to come, including in the next pair, the Olympic champion. Going to take a track record now to move atop the leaderboard. And here is Kim Min-soon on the outer lane. Aaron Jackson on the inner. There is Jackson. Shut out of the medals in the 500 meters in Calgary at the World Single Distances. And there is Kim, who was second. Also a couple World Cup wins on the season. Kim with wins in Poland, Norway, and Canada on World Cup this season. Jackson also had wins in Salt Lake and Beijing. Jackson matching Cox's opening time to the 100th of a second. Kim just 3/100ths of a second behind. It's going to take a track record to knock off Femke Koch atop the leaderboard. Jackson leading things around. Kim is going to tighten it up around the corner. This could be a drag race to the line. Kim slightly in front. Jackson trying to close that gap into the final few strides. Jackson makes it close. But it's Kim Min-soon, 37.36. And Jackson 37.40. Kim third. Jackson fourth. And so they really faded on that lap. And Femke Koch remains atop the leaderboard. Miho Takagi still in second. Of course, the beauty of this is that you have a struggle on day one. You keep it as close as possible and try to get them on day two. There's the difference at the line. And the final pair. It is Kimmy Getz of the United States. Really a breakout year for her on World Cup. And on the other lane, Jutta Leerdam will likely find her strength in the 1,000 meters. The goal, keep it as close as possible in the 500 meters. That's what worked for her in 2022 when she won the World Sprint Championships. As Femke Koch won the 500s, Leerdam won the 1,000s, and the points were the difference there. Two years ago in Heerenveen, Leerdam was fifth in the first 500 and then fourth in the second 500. Both of them a little bit off the pace for their openings. Getz, we know, has some endurance, having been on the podium in the 1,000 and the 1,500 this year as well. Leerdam chasing her down like a predator down the back stretch, looking like Leerdam might have something in the mix here. She is leading the pair. The current time to beat is a track record set by Femke Koch, and it is going to be Leerdam taking the pair. She will cross with the fifth fastest time, 37.41. 37.98 to Getz, almost a second off the pace. And so, as it was 2 years ago, so it is now. Race 1, 500 meter 1, goes to Femke Koch, but by just a few hundredths of a second ahead of Miho Takagi. So all to play for still with 3 races to go. And that's when you would think in the 1,000 we might see Miho Takagi make her move. And the results after race 1, and the standings after race 1. Bem Kikok, Miho Takagi, and Kim Min Sun 1 through 3. We will, of course, see them again shortly in the 1,000 meters. And as I mentioned, that might be the time when Miho Takagi, the world champion, single distance champion, the Olympic champion, really makes her move. Right there in position after the first 500 meters. As we continue on through the standings. And of course, after the women's 500 meters comes the men's 500. Men's 500 will be getting going in about 5 minutes time, and so I will just take a quick pause and be back with you in just a moment. about ready to go. One thing we do know is that it's a pretty wide open sprint field for the men. No Tomasz Kroll, the defending champion, didn't qualify, decided to hang up his skates, and so instead of flying around the ice, he'll be flying in the air as Kroll aims to become a pilot. There will be no Jordan Stolz, the American opting to compete in the World All-Arounds. And so pair number one, Altaj Zardembekuli, Kazakhstan. 22-year-old, and Stefan Emola, home nation. 27-year-old from Erfurt, home of another oval. There was a look at Laurent Dubreuil there, the Canadian who was leading after day one in 2022 of the World Sprints, but then tested positive for COVID-19 and had to pull out. Zardembekuli with the first fastest opening 100, his first year on the Senior World Cup circuit. Silver medal in the team sprint at the Four Continents in Salt Lake City. Not really having seen much of him this season in individual as he races in the B division. Or has raced in it, but it's Emola coming back to set the fastest time at the early benchmark, 35.54. Emola likes that. That is just over 0.2 of a second faster than his previous personal best. That was actually set in Salt Lake City back in 2021, so that was a couple of years coming. Pent-up celebration for Stefan Emola. 35.54. It's nice to see the personal bests falling here as well. This ice is one of the faster ones in Europe. Second pair as Ignaz Schweitner of Austria, and the other lane Alessio Trentini of Italy. Schweitner from Innsbruck. Trentini. 29 years old. Now, before the era of the indoor oval, the previous open-air facility in Inzell was the home of dozens of world records, I think over 80. And things changed when the high-elevation ices were indoors. Calgary, Salt Lake City, I'm talking about. Of course, Salt Lake City, really the fastest ice in the world now. Schweitner with the fastest opening so far. Former world or youth winter Olympian and gold medalist in the mixed youth team sprint. It was a race that actually combined nations back in 2020. Schweitner's time fades in the end, though. Schweitner, pardon me, goes to third, 35.82. Trentini, 35.94. Actually had the faster lap, but wasn't able to close it up. And now, this one might be one to watch.
It's now time for pair number 3.
It's Kjelnos.
Pair number 3 in the inner lane, representing the Netherlands. National spring champion and 3-time Olympic champion,
The best power skaters in the world. Tuukka Suomalainen out of Finland. was actually Suomalainen's debut at the senior level. He competed on the Junior World Cup circuit as a neo-senior, and knows, expect him to really be a force in the 1,000 meters in this event. He is, of course, more of a 1,500 and 1,000 meter specialist. Fastest opener so far, or faster than our fastest time so far. Knows lead the pair to the line. Suomalainen fading off into the distance a little bit, and then by over half a second, Kjeld Knows. 34.96. We'll go P1 for the moment. Suomalainen with a 36 even, new personal best for him. So we'll see how long that time stands up. Number 4, expect a nice ovation from the home crowd. In Calgary, the world single distances, Klein finished in 15th in the 1,000 meters. Dombeck opted to do both the 1,000 and 1,500. He was 13th in the 1,000, 10th in the 1,500. So Dombeck might be looking more at the 1,000 meters as his chance for the better results here at the World Sprints. And the all-German battle shaping up to be a close one. Way out wide there goes Dombeck, and it is going to be Klein, or Dombeck, pardon me, going fastest, 34.94. Big fist pump, 35.22 for Klein. And so Dombeck, about 18 hundredths of a second off of his personal best time, but we move ahead of Kjeld Knows. Certainly worthy of a celebration. So, celebrating the all-German battle. Every time you have a victory over your teammate, certainly worth celebrating. Pair is another member of that youth movement in the Korean program. Koo Kim Ming at 19 years old, and then a man who will likely see more of or see a better result in the 1,000 meters. Zhang Yan. Ming, the 1,000 meter overall World Cup winner. Didn't really contest the 500 much this year, so this is one where he'll just aim to keep it close and make his move in the 2,000 meter distances. saw a little move there. I'm going to say that was on the inner lane. Very, very close as they were both off. Almost held on. Certainly there was the move there by Ku. The world junior champion in both the 500 and 1,000 meters. That was last month in Japan, in Hachinohe City. And this time safely away. A man for the future for the Korean sprint program against one of the best 1,000 meter skaters in the world, and it's Ku. The 991, Ning 10.03. Ning hasn't set a personal best in the 500 meters since 2001. And like I said, this is one where he just wants to hang in, keep it close, and then try to make up the difference with his 1,000 meter excellence. And it is Ning. Looks like he's slowly moving ahead, and it might be Ning taking the pair, and he does go fastest, 34.82 by 0.02 of a second, new personal best. Ku 34.89, and he goes second right now. Also a personal best for the young man from Korea. And so Ning doing what he has to do, putting up a new personal best. Ning rather didn't contest the World Sprints 2 years ago in Heerenveen. Might that be enough to keep him close to the men who excel in the 500 meters? First test coming up will feature one of his own teammates. Haonan, 25-year-old, against Matthias Voste of Belgium.
Representing China, please welcome Du Haonan. And the outer lane, representing Belgium, national 500-meter record holder Matthias Voste.
Voste was 13th in the 500 meters at the European Speed Skating Championships in Heerenveen. And Du, he was 22nd in the World Cup overall standings in this discipline. Voste did both the 1,000 and the 1,500 at the World Single Distances, so perhaps he might be eyeing his better results in the 1,000 as well. At the moment, it is Du in front, keeping those legs turning around the corner to try to keep up that speed, and he will lead it down the home stretch. Du Haonan goes 5th, 35 even, 35.37 for Voste. 5th and 7th for these two men as we move into close to the second half of the 500 meter draw.
Inzell into position number 5.
And at the moment, Ning Zhangyan still leading the way ahead of Ku Kyung-min. Seventh pair has Yen-Kun Zhao of Canada, one of the youngest stalwarts of this program, the 20-year-old. His mother was one of the best coaches in speed skating. On the other line, Piotr Michalski, 29 years old. Poland. There is another false start. That will go to Michalski. Just gonna say, Zhao only made his senior debut at the Four Continents Championships in Salt Lake City. His mother, Xiuli Wang, coached Canada. She coached China as well. Michalski was 6th 2 years ago in the World Sprints. The Canadian sprint program really led by Laurent Dubreuil. He is 31, and so the Canadian program looking for the future. And this young man off to a fine start, 9.72, 9.80 for Michalski. Zhang and Yankun Zhao is coming up behind. It is Michalski leading the way to the finish line. Michalski 35.34, 35.84 for Zhao, 7th and 11th respectively. So neither of those men coming close to their personal bests. So it's a quick evaluation, quick debrief, and get ready for the 1,000 meters. Hand down there. Wonder how much speed that cost him. There is a look at Dubreuil.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's concentrate for pair number 8.
There. Zach Stoppelmoor of the United States. Henrik Fagerli-Ruka of Norway. And there is Stoppelmoor, the 24-year-old. Stoppelmoor 26th in the World Cup standings this season. And there, Ruka 47th in the overall standings in this discipline. Looks like the movement actually went to Ruka. I see both flags out. That might just be the stop flag. I did see a white flag back there. So. Yeah, without question, there was the movement from Stoppelmoor. Stoppelmoor, you see the start that the inline skaters use, the down start. And he is certainly the faster of the two. Very close opening, 0.06 of a second separating them. Ruka, we often saw in the B division. He would compete at the European Championships. That Norwegian program is heavy on the distance skaters. That's what a lot of the kids drift towards. Their challenge is to convince young skaters to get into sprinting. But it is Zach Stoppelmoor, the United States, going 7th fastest, 35.22. Henrik Fagerli-Ruka going 36.01, currently in 16th place. And so Ning Zhengyan still leading. We are into the second half of the pairings. Six to go. Next one has Neil Yop of Spain. And on the other lane, Yop Wennemars, the youngster on the Dutch program. Yop, the Youth Olympic Games silver medalist.
Representing the Netherlands, the 2022 Junior 500-meter World Champion and runner-up of the National Sprint Championships, Joep Wennemars.
Wennemars, of course, going to want to earn his own palmares. It's hard to escape the shadow of his father, though. Urban Wennemars, two-time world sprint champion. And it's Izquierdo, or Yop rather, silver medalist from the 2020 Youth Olympic Games in Lausanne. That was coming back after a training crash. She's aiming to be the first Spaniard to qualify for an Olympics in speed skating. He had the faster opening, but it's Wennemars coming up on the inner lane, and it is the man from the Netherlands leading it to the line. He will go 35.18 for 6th, 35.37 for Neil Yop. And so Yop Wennemars, 21-year-old, takes that pair. So far there have been 4 personal bests set today in the men's 500 meters. This one, certainly an interesting pair with Ove Lorentzen of Norway. Of course, an Olympic champion in the 1,000. Previous Olympic champion in the 1,000, silver in the 1,000, and David Bosa, and who has been on the podium this year on World Cup for Italy. And I think that one's Bosa. The fall started there. And there's the white flag back there. Let's just see. Play will always show that. Interesting call there. There might have been a twitch from Lorentzen. But either way, it is a false start. And there is the red flag. And outer lane. They both get it. So there was both movement. And a little bit of a twitch from Lorentzen. Lorentzen, pardon me. Gold in the 500 meters at the Pyeongchang Olympics in 2018. Silver in the 1,000. And Bosa, 0.08 of a second faster than our current leader. But just the 12th and 15th fastest starts overall. But it's really the lap that matters. Getting up to speed quickly and hanging on. Bosa's medal on World Cup this season came in the 1,000 meters in Salt Lake City, but it's side by side right now. Bosa with a slight advantage, drifting out wide, but it's Bosa who's going to take it. 35-1-0 for Bosa, 35-1-4 for Hove Lorentzen. 6th and 7th at the moment, both about 0.3 of a second off the pace. Four pairs to go. Still to come. The next one features Ryota Kojima of Japan, perhaps something of a 1,000-meter specialist, going up against Cho Sung-hyuk, 23 years old, another one of those very young Korean skaters. There is Kojima, the only Japanese entrant in the men's World Sprint Championships.
Also his first appearance representing Korea, Cho Sung-hyuk.
It was interesting that for all their early season dominance, particularly in the 500 meters for Japan, they were shut out of the sprint medals on the men's side. And so it is Kojima, the only entrant from Japan here in the World Sprints. Both of them in the green through the first 1,000 meters, but we've seen a lot of pairs start fast and not able to finish it off. Kojima was 8th in the 1,000 meters in Calgary at the World Single Distances, but it is going to be Cho going fastest by 1/100th of a second. That might be reevaluated. You never know when they adjust for the photo finish, but at the moment, Cho 34.81, 34.97 for Kojima. So confirmation that it is the new fastest time. 34.81, about 0.6 of a second off the track record of 34.22. That was set by Ruslan Murashov. That was back in 2019. Now we're getting into some of the potential favorites for the World Sprints. There are the standings at the moment. And so Ning Zhongyan, 500-meter time puts him potentially within striking distance. In the 1,000 is more preferred event. This pair has Bjorn Magnussen, the 26-year-old. He was 23rd in this distance, or pardon me, 5th in this distance in Calgary at the World Single Distances. And Martin Lieve, who's on the podium in the 500 at the European Championships in Heerenveen. And Lieve was 2nd behind the man we'll see in the next pair. No false starts. He was 14th in the 500 meters in Calgary, 9th in the 1,000, and through the opening 100, 0.06 of a second separating Magnussen and Lieve. And it is Lieve who will get the inner lane to try to close things up. He's going to get almost right up alongside. It's going to be a drag-out race to the finish. Lieve might have moved slightly ahead. He reaches 1/100th of a second, separates them. 35.06 and 35.07. 8th and 9th at the moment. And these times not really challenging their own personal bests. And so 2 pairs to go. The our final results after event 1 of 4 in the World Sprint Speed Skating Championships. And that is 100th of a second. Whew. Look at that. Love those photos. And in the 13th pair, European champion. That's the future of Dutch men's sprinting. Henning de Boer. Just recently turned 20 a few months ago. And Marek Kania from Poland, and who has been on the podium in the 500, 7th in the World Cup standings in this distance. Kania finished the season strongly on World Cup with a silver medal in one of the 2 500-meter races in Quebec City, but then couldn't put it together in Calgary, finishing in 18th place. And Henning de Boer, as I mentioned, European champion, was 12th in the World Championships in Calgary. And Kania looks like he is moving slightly ahead. And it is Kania who's going to take the pair. He will go fastest. 34.56, 34.65 for de Boer. And so 2 new men atop the leaderboard. And it's just a matter of a few tenths of a second. And I'm still looking at Ning Zhongyan, someone who could be primed to make a run. He's sitting in 4th right now, but it's a couple of a tenths of a second. And so 1,000 meters could be decisive. The first one coming up in just a little bit. 1 more pair to go. And certainly, if anyone could move atop the leaderboard, it is either of these 2 men. Final pair, Kim Jun-ho of Korea, Laurent Dubreuil of Canada. There's a false start. Just adding to the tension. Might have been just the movement from Dubreuil there. There it is. There's the red flag. Dubreuil had a bit of a slow start to the season, dealing with some injuries that really hampered his training and preparation. But he really came on late, winning a silver medal in the 500 meters in Calgary. Fastest 2 opening 100 meters we have seen. Kim, 0.02 of a second faster than Dubreuil. But look at that draft down the backstretch. We'll see if the man from Canada can really close things up. He does also have some prowess in the 1,000 meters. It is Dubreuil leading things to the line, and Dubreuil will go top of the leaderboard by 0.09 of a second. 34.47, 34.82 for Kim Jun-ho, good enough for 6th place. And so, race 1 goes for Laurent Dubreuil. Was in 1st place after day 1 2 years ago, and then an ill-fated COVID-19 positive test sidelined him in day 2. So A man out for retribution, that is to be sure. And away from the Canadian. In Dutch orange, but waving the Canadian flag. So, in his attempt to finish the job, Laurent Dubreuil takes race number 1. But it is all very close. First through fifth, and there's a tie for fifth. Both first through fifth separated by 35 hundredths of a second. And Dubreuil, 18 hundredths of a second off of Dubreuil's pace. I think he's saying hi to everybody he can in the audience. There are the results after race number 1. Dubreuil, Kanya, Debo, Cho, and Kim 1 through 5, and Ning also tied for 5th. 35 hundredths of a second separating top place and 5th place. Moving day coming up in the 1,000 meters. Let's see big shifts overall. That is still to come. They will resurface the ice. And then the women's 1,000 meters will go ahead. My name is Gavin Day. Stay with us, everybody. Back with you shortly.
So it means as well that we can prepare ourselves for the upcoming 1,000 meters of this sprint tournament here in Inzell. Please pass now a warm up and a big round of applause for Team Germany, the German fans, and for Josephine Heimel.
Thank you, Jan. Less than 3 minutes away from the first start, first 1,000 meters women's sprint. Let's have a brief look at the starting list. First pair on her own is Inessa Shimakova. Second pair, Kristina Shimakova and Martina Barao. The third race, Liga Bolasik and Kim Minchi. Race number 4, Anna Osman and Juni Istad Samsonsen. Fifth race, Lea Sophie Schultz and Serena Berger. Race number 6, Madison Bierman, Sofia Toru. Race number 7, Carolina Boziek and Alina Dauradova. Race number 8, Martina Ripswit.
Here's the start list for the women's 1,000. Actually, these are the results of the women's 1,000 meters. Femke Koch at the moment leading the way with race 1 of 4. Miho Takagi, Kim Min-sun, Aaron Jackson, and Yuta Leerdam rounding out the top 5. But Leerdam and Takagi, perhaps the two to beat in this 1,000 meters. Takagi, of course, world champion. Leerdam with a couple of World Cup wins this season, the only woman to beat Takagi in the 1,000 meters, so one to watch. And the Shumekova sisters are separated this time around. They won't be racing head-to-head. There will be the one lone skater. And you can take a look at the rest of the start list. And there you have it. Takagi in the 12th pair, Leerdam in the 13th pair. And he gets into rebound from maybe a slower 500 than she wanted. It's Madison Pierman of Canada. The tinge of purple, as she sometimes does. And Leerdam, still a bit of time before she goes into her favored event. Smetting of GB.
The starters whistle to prepare for 14 pairs of 1,000 meters, second distance in the women's tournament. Hilsen Paar i ersten 1,000 Meter. And again, in the first pair, we have a skater skating by herself, so we need some extra energy. On the Inzell ice, as mentioned before, we
about ready to get going in the women's 1,000 meters, and it will be Inessa Shumekova of Kazakhstan doing her 2.5 laps by herself. The 20-year-old. She was 26th. After the 500. Two and a half laps of the 1,000 meters, and so it's a sprint. It's a long sprint, and so the legs will certainly start to feel it at the end. But unlike the 1,500, where you have to match the pacing and the sprinting to create one agonizing race, this is just go as long as you can. Shumekova did skate mostly on the B division this season on World Cup, but did skate the 2 neo-senior events at the Junior World Cups rather in Italy. She had 2 medals in the 500 meters and 2 medals in the 1,000 meters in the 2 juniors events that she did. And so certainly for her first season into the senior level, there is still a measure of promise in this young woman. Of course, it's always such a big leap to jump from the junior level to the senior level. So the trial by fire here at the World Sprint Championships, and this is Inessa Shumekova, the older of the Shumekovas, who's taking to the ice, fading now. A certain sign the legs are tiring, and she will set the time to beat 1:20.33. So there is the points. And so as the points are classified, you're going to take that time that she just put up in the 1,000 meters, which would have been, let's see, 80 seconds, divide that by 2, and then add it. So it's about 40 points, essentially. Add that to her 500 meter time, and that gave her the 85 plus points that she had. Simple enough. This pair will have the younger Shumekova on the inner lane, going up against Martina Baran of Poland. Baran's personal best, 1:18.52. She set that this year in Salt Lake City. And so the way the training is done in speed skating, the training is done to peak at the desired moment. So certainly plenty of time for her to go back to training after the Calgary World Championships, so that she could peak at this moment here. Baran, 9/10 of a second faster in that opening 200 meters. Kristina Shumekova skated at the World Junior Championships in Japan in Hachinohe City in February. She was 18th in the 1,000, 10th in the 500 meters. She was also in the 500 and 1,500 meters at the Youth Olympics, and it's Baran throwing down a solid effort right now. These world sprints, having 2 races a day over 2 days, it just accentuates the need for a good recovery and then a priming again to peak at the race. And you just see the legs turning over so slowly. The fatigue is setting in. Baran, 1:18.08. And so she puts up a new personal best by almost half a second, and 2.25 seconds faster than Inessa Shumekova. And Kristina Shumekova also in the green. And I believe a personal best as well for her, beating her previous personal best of 1:21.4. And so for some of the younger skaters, Certainly setting a new PB is something to hang your hat on at the end of the day. Barat, of course, 27 years old, so not one of the younger skaters. Iga Wojtaszek and Kim Min Ji in the other lane. Wojtaszek 19th after the first 500 meters. Kim 16th. Start there. I'll try to retake things. This time they are away cleanly. Nice to have the computers calculating the time they need to set to move atop the leaderboard. And of course the points calculation pretty much instantaneous. So keep an eye on that graphic in the corner when they cross the line. Wojtaszek only did the 500 meters at the single distances. Pardon me, no, she didn't. She was 19th in the 500 meters. Wojtaszek did have a second place in a B division race at the World Cup in Quebec City. That was a 1:17.97. The personal best of 1:17.09 was set in Salt Lake City in January. And it is Wojtaszek leading the way right now. The faster opening lap, 28.04, so just 0.08 of a second ahead of Kim Min Ji. Close race here at the bell. Wojtaszek will enjoy a bit of a draft there down the back stretch. Brittany Bowe holds the track record in the 1,000 meters, 1:13.41. Not really going to be threatened, at least in the early going, perhaps later on. And it will be Wojtaszek taking the pair. And she will go 1:16.90, new personal best for her. And she will move into first place. Kim Min Ji, about a half a second off of her personal best, actually almost a full second off of her personal best. But they go 1-2 in the overall standings at the moment. First of the German skaters to go up in the 1,000 meters today. Coming up in the next pair. On the air lane, Anna Ostlander. And she's up against Julie Nystad Samsonsen. See the graphic there. Samsonsen needs a new personal best to move atop the leaderboard. Samsonsen was 21st after the 500 meters. Ostlander 15th. She put up a new personal best in the 500 meters. Ostlander competed at the 2020 Youth Olympics. He was 6th in the 500 meters there. 2020 was held in Lausanne on a frozen lake in beautiful Lausanne, Switzerland. There's Jeremy Wotherspoon, the Norwegian sprint coach. And coming up to the bell, it is Ostlander leading the way. 0.06 of a second off the pace. 28.11, 28.21 the lap times. Iga Wojtaszek has the time to beat right now. Auslander almost side by side coming into the final turn, and she will pull away with the inside lane there. Anna Auslander, she put up a personal best in the 500 meters. Can she do it again in the 1,000? 1:16.94. No, she can't, but she does go second fastest in the 1,000 and moves atop the overall leaderboard for the moment. 21-year-old, part of that young core of German talent coming through the system as they try to refine some of that international power that they have lost a little bit in recent years. But they do have a very young cohort of skaters really trying to get things back atop the world stage. Certainly no shortage of ovals in Germany. Berlin, Inzell, Erfurt. That is Takagi. She will go in pair number 12 against Femke Koch. That'll be an interesting pair to be sure. Next one, the other skater from Germany, Lea-Sophie Schultz. Going up against Serena Perger. Perger was 17th in the 500. And Schultz was 24th. And there is a fall off the line, and it's Schultz who's down. And it's a disaster for the young woman. Schultz, 24. Of course, all the respect in the world, getting back up. Now skating for pride, largely Perger, largely on her own, puts up an 18.36 first 200 meters. And Schultz will just be skating for pride now. Still a chance to set some new personal fastest times tomorrow in the 500 and the 1,000. Perger, really more of a 500 meter specialist. Does skate the occasional 1,000 meters as well. She did the 500 at the Calgary World Single Distance Championships, was 12th there. And 20 years old, Perger, of course, looking to peak for the 2024 Winter Olympics. The oval will be built in Cortina, trying to keep those legs moving around the corner, driving to the line, lengthening that stride, and Perger will move into 5th in the overall classification. And chapeau to Lea-Sophie Schultz, getting up. What will say 1,000 words, but all of the respect in the world for her to get up and finishing her race. And she'll be back to try to put up some new fastest times tomorrow. And just, you see it there, the first stride, the toe digs into the ice. And there's very little you can do there to stop momentum working and bringing you right to the ice, the gravity. And without doubt, she will be back. 6th pair. Madison Pierman, of Canada, 23rd in the 500 meters. And Sophia Thorup listed as a DQ in the 500 meters, back out here in the 1,000. Pierman perhaps better suited to the 1,000 meters. Her best result on World Cup this season was an 11th in the 1,000 meters in Calgary, rather. That was in the World Championships. She was 16th at Worlds, or 16th overall in the World Cup circuit. very close opening. Pierman was 10th in the 1,000 meters at the Four Continents in Salt Lake City. Thorup we often see in the B division on the World Cup circuit. And there is less than a second separating the two in their personal best. It's Thorup at the moment leading way. She's up by almost half a second, almost 4/10 of a second rather. Pierman, really a member of that Canadian team sprint side. There's her husband and coach. And it is going to be Thorup at the line, going third fastest. 1:17.13. And you see the classification only going up for Pierman, as there was that DQ listed in the 500 meters for her. Sophia Thorup winning the pair. Former short tracker. Of the Polish skaters, Karolina Bosiek, coming in against Alina Dauranova of Kazakhstan. Bosiek was 10th in the 500 meters, Dauranova 18th. And about half a second separated the two in that distance. Dauranova finding better results in the 1,000 meters. She is 14th in the Four Continents and 13th at the World Championships in the 1,000 meters. But through the opening, it is Karolina Bosiek, and she puts up the fastest 200-meter time. 18 hundredths of a second to the good for her. Bosiek, a personal best time of 1:14.56. Dauranova, 1:15.24. Bosiek was 19th at the World Single Distance Championships in Calgary. But Dauranova with the faster lap by 3/100ths of a second. And that is Dauranova making the move right now. Bosiek does have the inner lane. She got a good little bit of a draft there on the back stretch. We'll see how labored the final turn is. Bosiek moving out in front. And she will bring it to the line, and she will put up the fastest time. 1:16.30, 1:16.82 for Dauranova. 1 and 2 in the 1,000, 1 and 3 overall. So Bosiek will move atop the leaderboard. Bosiek did compete in this event 2 years ago. Moving on, Martine Ripsrud of Norway on the inner lane. Isabel Van Elst on the outer. Ripsrud 20th after the 500. Van Elst 22nd. Exactly 2/10 of a second separating them. So you might start to see some separation in the overall standings with them very, very close. But Their personal bests are also pretty similar, so certainly an interesting pair here. Both of them are going to have to be putting up new personal best time if they want to move atop the leaderboard. Van Elst, she last set a personal best in the 1,000 meters back in Calgary in 2019. So it's been a few years and certainly time to do it. It is Ripsrud with the faster opening by 0.06 of a second. Ripsrud was 10th in the overall 2 years ago at the World Sprints. And her 1,000 meters, she was 10th in one, 12th in the other. And right now, Van Elst moving back to the fore. She has about half a second advantage. Big jump in time on that lap time as Van Elst really threw down there into the 27s. But Ripsrud, what does she have left in the tank? Van Elst keeping both arms around the back, down the back stretch. Interesting for a sprint race. Keeping the turnover as fast as she can around the corner. Van Elst gonna pull away, take the pair. 1:16.57. 1:18.05. So second and 10th in the distance for her. And so about a second off her personal best is Van Elst. And so neither of them challenging the overall standings for the moment. And so into our final 6 pairs. Next one has Lee Na-yun of Korea and Ryo Yamada of Japan. Lee, the 18-year-old. Personal best 1:15.02 is a little over a second off of Yamada's pace, but Lee, 18. Certainly a lot of runway ahead of her. Yamada was 12th in the 500 meters. Yamada was 12th in the 1,000 at the World Championships in Calgary, the world single distances, mind you. She does race the 500 and the 1,000, so a pure sprinter through and through is Ryo Yamada. Again, a better result at the 4 continents as well, with a 5th in the 1,000, a 7th in the 500. And Yamada with the faster opening by 0.3 of a second. We get a good draft down that back stretch, just makes it easier. You just save some of that energy that you can use into the final stretch. Lee's results are better in the 500 than the 1,000. And now Yamada well into the green, 0.75 of a second. Look at that, more than 0.6 of a second faster than Lee on that lap time. Shifting into the outer lane, trying to finish strongly as well. Let's just note that Yamada's personal best time in the 1,000, 1:13.92. She's going to miss that, but she'll go 1:15.49, and she will move into first place in the overall. And Lee Na-yun, 1:16.71. Well off her personal best time as well. But they go first and fourth for the distance, first and third overall for the moment. Those who skated fastest in the 500 still to come. Next up is Isabel Gravelt of the Netherlands and Tian Rining of China. Gravelt, bronze in the 1,000 meters in Quebec City. Really only on World Cup in the back half of the season. And Tian Rining of China, 19th overall in the World Cup standings in the 1,000 meters. And false start free so far. And Tian just off the podium in the 500, in 10th in the 1,000 in Calgary, and then 18th in the 1,500. So let's see what Tian has as well. Opening 200 meters, both of them closing in on 0.2 of a second off the pace. It's Gravelt through the early going in the lead. In the 500 meters, Gravelt was 9th. Tian was 7th. About 1/4 of a second separated the two. They will both come up to get the bell right here. Gravelt still in the lead. Low 27 lap time for her. Both of them in striking distance of the fastest time in the 1,000. Of course, the calculations will have to be sorted out as well. Rio Yamada with a 1:15.49. And it is still Gravelt on the inner lane, leading things home. And she will take the pair. She will go fastest by almost 1/2 a second, 1:15.02. And they go 1 and 2 in the overall classification. Tian with a 1:15.82. So Tian was a full second off of her personal best. Smetting, Great Britain on the inner lane, and Aaron Jackson on the outer. That's a good recovery phase if ever I saw one. That is a tiring day. A lot of sprinting. Jackson 4th through the 500. This one is not really to her liking. Jackson's goal in the 1,000, just keep it as close as possible and try to jump back up the leaderboard tomorrow in the 500 meters. Expect a fast opener from Jackson. Her big challenge is trying to sustain it. 0.3 of a second ahead, 17.94 opening 200 meters. Smetting 18.54. Both of these skaters have pretty comparable personal bests in the distance, so Smetting will have a strong back half of the race. Jackson will fight to hang on. She often jokes about the 1,000 meters, or I have read that she's joked about her 1,000 meters. And now it starts to fade. Jackson 0.04 of a second off the pace. Smetting, look at that. You see the fastest lap already for Smetting. Now Smetting will try to close that gap, move into the inner lane, and close up even further on Jackson. Great corner shot there, and Smeding moves into the front. Jackson trying to fight back late, but Smeding will take it. 1:15.49. But Jackson's time of 1:15.72 is enough to move her temporarily atop the overall classification. There are 3 pairs still to go. 1:15.72 for Jackson. It is one of her faster times in the 1,000 meters this year. Three pairs to go. The next one is the big one, at least in my mind. It has both the winner of the 500, Femke Koch, and Miho Takagi, who was second by 0.06 of a second. World champion, Olympic champion. And at the beginning of a very long weekend, trying to pull the double. There's a good graphic for you. Never won 1,000 meters. International event. It was interesting. Koch second in both of the 1,000 meters at the World Sprints in Hamar in 2022. Through the opening, Koch with the faster opening by a couple hundredths of a second. Takagi right there, though. Certainly these two ladies are aiming the top of the overall standings at the moment. Koch trying to keep touch with Takagi for as long as she can and then try not to lose much time. She's leading through 600 meters, but by 0.09 of a second, almost identical lap times between the two. But we know Takagi also has that prowess in the 1,500 meters. This is where that endurance kicks in. Look at her using as much of the draft in that outer lane as much as possible as she draws level entering the final turn. Little bit of a wobble. She is still well out in front. Takagi will move atop the standings. 1:13.32, a new track record. 1:13.32 beats Brittany Bowes' mark from 2019. That was 1:13.41. And Koch a 1:14.35. So the top two times in the distance. And they are 1 and 2 in the overall standings as well, with 2 pairs still to go. There's that little, maybe it wasn't so much of a wobble. Good I've out. And on from her. And Jutta Leerdam on the inner lane. Kimi Getz on the outer. Leerdam, the only woman to beat Miho Takagi this season in the 1,000 meters. The defending world sprint champion. Not to be outdone, Kimi Getz of the United States didn't have the best 500. 8th after the first race. And Takagi, let's see how her time holds up. safely away. Getz was 5th in this distance at the World Championships, but she won in Salt Lake. There were 2,000 meters held in Salt Lake, and she has a silver and a gold. Leerdam. That was the 1,000 meters that Takagi skipped. Leerdam, I believe, was also nursing an ankle injury at the time, so that second 1,000 meters, Leerdam was second to Getz. And at the bell, it is Leerdam leading her way through, just a few hundredths of a second off of the pace. Getz about 4/10 down. And Leerdam getting to go onto the inner lane, drawing just about level with Getz. Heading into the final turn, keeping those strides long. And Leerdam will lead this to the finish. Takagi's time 1:13.32. Leerdam goes 1:13.71. And so, about 4/10 of a second off of the pace. And Takagi still in the lead at the moment. Looked like Leerdam was 3rd in the overall standings with 1 pair to go. So potentially a move up the ranks for her, as she was 5th after the 500 meters. But Takagi looking like she could be going into the overnight in the lead. That's with the 4th fastest 1,000 meters, 1:14.46. And it will be up to Herzog and Vanessa Herzog and Kim Min-soon to try to upset the apple cart a little bit. There is certainly the potential. Kim perhaps better in the 500 meters. Herzog same. Herzog did put up a better 1,000 meters than the 500 at the World Championships. Herzog 2 bronze medals at the Europeans in both the 500 and the 1,000. Which is something of an enigma. Sometimes better in the 5, sometimes better in the 1,000. Might as well just watch and see what happens here. Skaters cleanly away. After the 500, Kim was in 3rd, Herzog 6th. And around the first 200 meters side by side. And it is Herzog pulling away just a little bit. There is 100th of a second separating these two women's personal best times. Kim's, though, was set earlier this year. Herzog hasn't broken her personal best in the 1,000 since 2017. And they will come up to get the bell here. Currently, Miho Takagi atop the leaderboard. Herzog leads through 600 meters. She put in a good first lap, 4/10 of a second ahead of Kim. And as she burned all her matches early, we will see how well she can hold on in the second half of the race. She does go over the top on the final crossover. She will duck into the inner lane. Herzog looking like she will hold on to take the pair. We'll see how her overall time compares. Herzog is now pulling away into the finish. And she goes 1:15.42, 6th overall at the moment. And Kim slips to 11th place. And Herzog 6th in the 1,000, 6th in the 500, 6th overall. And that all works out. And there's your leader after day 1 in the women's ISU World Sprint Championships, Miho Takagi. Song. She's been seeing a lot of the number 6. Leerdam has some work to do on day number 2. Femke Koch also had a pretty good day. Take some doing to beat Miho Takagi tomorrow. First Olympics way back as a teenager in high school back in 2010. Skipped an Olympics to focus on school, and now one of the greats in the sport right now. And here are the results. Takagi, Leerdam, and Koch, your 1, 2, and 3 in the 1,000. Kimi gets 4th. Isabel Grevelt in 5th place. That is the result of the 1,000. We'll see the calculations as well. Another break coming up as we will get ready for the men's 1,000 meters. Don't go anywhere. And there are your overall standings. At the moment, Takagi with 73.79 points. Koch and Leerdam 2 and 3. Getz and Jackson rounding out the top 5. Another 500 and another 1,000 coming tomorrow. The men's 1,000 coming up shortly.
In second place, with a time of 1:13.71, representing the Netherlands, Jutta Leerdam. And in first place, and winner of this first 1,000 meters with a time of 1:13.32, a phenomenal track record. Representing Japan, here is Miho Takagi. Give them one more big applause. Our top three, Femke Kocher, Jutta Leerdam, and winner Miho Takagi.
Track record is 1:07.39, set by Kai Verwij on 9th of February 2019. Ja, Jungs, wir brauchen nicht wieder Inzell für das Inzellbad. And we're ready to go with our pair number one. With Boston in a lane, representing Finland, the 1,000-meter national champion, Tuukka Suomalainen. And here we go, Germany, after a phenomenal...
And into the men's 1,000 meters now. Day one, of course, another day to come. And so with the women having finished their races, they now work on recovery and refocusing. It's a very quick turnaround, and for the likes of Miho Takagi, the beginning of a very long weekend, and Lea Sophia Schultz of Germany also doing the double. And the first pair, Tuukka Suomalainen, a youngster from Finland making his senior debut, and Stefan Emila of Germany. And after the 500 meters, Suomalainen was 26th, and Emila put up a personal best, skating to 22nd place. Emila 17th in the 1,000 meters at the European Championships. Those were in Heerenveen. And his lap time 25.58, just over a second faster than Suomalainen. And it's Emila by about a second at the moment. Suomalainen, as a 21-year-old, only a personal best still to come. His personal best is 1:12.84. It is Emila leading things around to the finish line. He will put up a fastest time of the moment of 1:09.54 and 1:12.21. So Suomalainen does in fact put up a new fastest time, or a new personal best rather. Emila just over a second off of his own personal best. Is Venemars. So, of course, after one pair, those are 1 and 2 in the overall standings. We'll get faster as we move along. Next pair has Altaj Jardembekuli of Kazakhstan and Kim Jun-ho in the outer lane. Jardembekuli, pardon me, making his senior debut. And Kim, certainly more favored in the 500 meters, doesn't often do the 1,000, so it proved to be a good challenge for him as well. Kim did just one 1,000 meters on World Cup this season. He did it in Salt Lake City, and it was in the B division where he picked up a 23rd place. Now, certainly he's made his preference known, and it's the 500. Jardembekuli regularly did the 1,000 meters in the B division. His best result was a 16th place in that B division in Quebec City. And of course was the final stop before the Calgary World Cup. There's a hand down there from Kim. Doesn't look like it sacrificed too much speed for him. At the bell, he leads the way. Almost identical lap times between these two men. 26.16, 26.15. Jardembekuli, I would imagine, headed towards a personal best. There's about 1.4 seconds difference between the two of them. Jardembekuli not staying terribly compact. He's really pumping those legs, almost losing speed. And here he is again trying to pick up the leg speed, to pick up some speed. 1:11.16. And no, in fact, both of these men are off of their personal best times. Kim goes to second overall. Jardembekuli going to third. You often see it where skaters are trying to pump the arms and pick up the leg speed. They're just trying to regain some speed. Someone's in taking very long strides. You know they're feeling pretty good, but of course in these 1,000 meters, it's not like it's the only event of the day they've done. They've had that compact power in the 500, and it's almost just hanging on in the 1,000 meters. Sprint number 3 has Bjorn Magnussen of Norway against 21-year-old Ignaz Schwetner of Austria. Schwetner would need a new personal best to move atop the leaderboard. Magnussen would not. Magnussen was 13th after the 500. Schwetner 23rd. There is Jeremy Weatherspoon once again, the Norwegian sprint coach. Of course, Weatherspoon, once the standard bearer of the Canadian sprint program. Arguably one of Canada's best ever Olympians never to win a gold medal. But he coached Hova Lorentzen to one. 500 meters in Pyeongchang. Magnussen and Schwetner both blistering openers from the two men. Schwetner 0.2 of a second to the good. At the bell, it is Magnussen leading the way, who's put in almost 0.6 of a second on Schwetner, who was flying out of the gate. Not so much on the lap time, and now you see the gritted teeth on Schwetner's face. Even though he's going into the outer lane, just trying to get dragged along a little bit. But it is Magnussen potentially putting up the current fastest time in the 1,000 meters. And he goes second fastest. He loses some time in the end. 1:19.63, but he does move atop the overall leaderboard. 1:09.63 for Magnussen, about a second and a half off his personal best. Norway is, of course, bidding farewell to Sverlund Pedersen this weekend. He will compete in the all-arounds. They're great distance skaters. You'll see him this weekend. Right now, it's all about the sprinters. For Magnussen, currently atop the overall leaderboard. Of course, expect that to change. Next up is Henrik Fagerle Ruka going up against Alessio Trentini. Trentini 25th after the 500. Ruka was 28th. Determined a little bit as well by who had the inner lane in the 500. They need to be in the outer lane for the 1,000 and so on. And so it's not always a direct seeding with Ruka 28th out of 28 and Trentini 25th. Just a couple hundredths of a second between these two men. Through the opening. They do also have faster 1,000 meters than some of the skaters behind them. Ruka did pick up a third in a B division in Poland last season. Not so much matching it this year, or this season rather. Trentini puts up a 25.63 lap time, and he is in the green with 400 meters to go. Of course, there's the individual time as well in the distance, and then there's the combined time with the 500 meters. So two separate rankings at the finish line. You see Ruka right there. That's his 1,000 meter ranking. Goes fastest, 1:09.27. And then in the bottom right, his 70.565 points. Move him into third overall. Now these men will quickly get on to their recovery to focus on tomorrow. Kyung-min, from Korea, and Neil Yop, 21-year-old from Spain. Yep, still looking for that debut at an Olympics. Was an alternate in the 500 and the 1,000 for 2022, but nobody withdrew, so he did not compete. Still looking to be the first Spanish speed skater. For the opening 200 meters, both of these men in the green, couple hundredths of a second separating them. Who was 7th after the 500. He put in a new personal best time. Yop was in 20th. It is still Koo in front coming up to the bell. Both of them still in the green. Koo by almost 7/10 of a second. Yop by just under half a second. Low 25s. That lap time, he'll get a good draft down the backstretch, but he doesn't want to get up too close. He wants to keep moving up alongside Neil Yop. It will be Koo Kyung-min. Keep an eye out. He put up a personal best in the 500, aiming for one in the 1,000. And he goes 1:08.94, and yes, he does by about 4/10 of a second. Another new personal best for him, 2 in 2 for Koo Kyung-min, and he moves atop the overall classification. Yo up to third in the overall, 109.83. So a little bit off his own personal best time there of 108.32. And so, double world junior champion in the 500 and the 1,000, Koo Kyung-min puts up 2 personal bests. And perhaps a warning shot for the future from that young man. Now it's Zach Stoppelmoor of the United States going up against Marek Kania of Poland. Stoppelmoor was 17th, tied for 17th after the 500. Kania was silver medalist, just 900ths of a second off of Laurent Dubreuil's time. Kania perhaps more in his element in the 500 meters. The thousands that he did do this season were largely in the B division. He was 6th in the 1,000 at the European Championships in Heerenveen, and he is certainly off to the faster opener, as you would expect from the 500 meter specialist. And he is up on the inside. A reminder, no Jordan Stolz in the World Sprints. He is focusing on the all-arounds this weekend. And now Kania perhaps starting to fade as Stoppelmoor puts in the faster lap time. And closing right up, and he will get in behind Kania. Getting a good long drink from that draft before going into the inner lane. Stoppelmoor on course to take the pair. And he will put up a time of 108.76, fastest one so far. And he really came into this race. Marek Kania 109.17. But overall, Kania goes first, Stoppelmoor third. So interesting flip there. Stoppelmoor with the fastest time in the 1,000, going third overall. Kania with the third fastest time in the 1,000, going first overall. For the moment, of course, lots more to come, including an all-German pair coming up next. Dombeck. Dombeck was 8th in the 500 meters. Klein 17th. A quarter of a second between them. And Klein going to need to be pretty close to a personal best to move atop the leaderboard. Just 2 personal bests so far in the men's 1,000 meters. Of course, it's a little bit more tired. You don't have that full recovery that you might have at a normal World Cup where there's an event a day or 2 events a day and you have a longer stretch in between. Very similar openings, 500ths of a second separating the 2 men. Good draft down the back stretch. These men, their personal best, there's only a 1/10 of a second separating them. Moritz Klein was 15th in the 1,000 meters in Calgary. And now Dombeck is the one in front. 200ths of a second. Klein about 2/10 of a second off the pace. Dombeck putting in that faster lap time there. A lot changes on the final lap. Klein trying to close things up on the inner lane, and he is doing just that. Slightly ahead of Dombeck, and it's going to be at the line. Moritz Klein with the fastest time, 108.45. 108.66 for Dombeck, 1 and 2 in the distance. And Dombeck 2 overall, and Klein 4th overall at this point in time in the overall. And just of note, DeBeau and Dubreuil go in the last stage, or last pair, pardon me. Dubreuil was the leader after the 500. Field Nose will go in the penultimate pair with Devin Bosa. It is Cho Sun-hyuk of Korea and Du Haonan of China. Du was 11th after the 500 meters. And Cho was 4th. And here's a look at Dubreuil getting the skates on. Du, another one of the skaters who really focuses on the 500 just a couple times in the 1,000 on World Cup this season. Didn't do it at the World Championships. And Cho did do the 1,000 meters, coming in 20th at the World Championships in Calgary at 23, one of the veterans of this Korean team. And even at the World Sprints, skaters at the different distances have to adjust the amount of their power and their tempo, but still within their style. You look at the likes of Sablikova, who is a tempo skater. She gets her timing down perfectly in those distance events. And a man like Kjeld Noos is very much a power skater. And you have to see the huge adjustments made in the world all-arounds, but in these sprints as well, it's a matter of timing the power while suiting the style. And at the line, it is Cho Sun-hyuk going 4th fastest, 108.77, and Du Haonan 109.82. So they go 2nd and 8th overall. And now we are very much in the second half of the skaters. There's a chance for another personal best. It could be in this one, the 20-year-old Canadian, Yankun Zhao, against Hova Lorentzen, the silver medalist, of course, from the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. Put up his 1,000-meter personal best back in 2019 in Salt Lake City. And you saw he doesn't need to be near his best to move atop the overall. Lorentzen, 5th in the World Cup standings in this distance this season. That includes a silver medal to Kjeld Noos at the World Cup stop in Beijing. That was the 2nd stop of the season. And Zhao has the faster opener. Sometimes he's gone better in the 500, sometimes in the 1,000. So, no figuring things out. And when you're 20, you have a lot of time to figure that out. And it is still Hova Lorentzen. Skated every race of the 1,000 meters this season on World Cup. 2/10 of a second in the green. Yan Kun Zhao about a half second off the pace of Lorenzen. And Lorenzen getting to go over the top on the final crossover. Certainly will always provide a little spring in the step. And Lorenzen by a pretty wide margin bringing it to the line. He goes fastest, 1:08.28. He likes that one. Yan Kun Zhao, 1:11.04. 1:11.04 from the Canadian. Lorenzen goes to 4th overall at the moment. Not really near personal best, but as we've said before, you're just coming off a 500-meter race and you don't really potentially get a full recovery in. Okay. Venomars and Ryota Kojima. I believe that might be Father Erben Venomars. Kojima. Kojima was 10th in the 500. Venomars 16th. Yeah, I mean, you say that a lot about a lot of Dutch skaters. They grew up at the rink, but particularly Venomars, his father, a longtime member of that Dutch program, and it's Kojima. And down goes Venomars. It is still Kojima in front. A tragedy for Venomars. I hope everything is okay. Going down at a pretty high speed. And there is the bell for Kojima. Still in the green, 25.14 the lap time. Venomars back up on his feet. And so Kojima gonna take the pair. Might come into an awkward situation here. Venomars wisely, of course, letting Ryota Kojima through. And Kojima dropping the arms. And he will cross with a 1:08.77, losing a lot of time on that last lap. And Venomars just going to coast. And we will see if he skates for pride tomorrow, skates for new personal best tomorrow, or how he will proceed. And Kojima going 5th overall, a little shrug of the shoulders. I'm not sure what he would have seen of that crash. Might have heard it, because he could hear the blades clicking as Venomars went down. But Kojima may have just been his own world. The fans cheering nicely for Venomars, who crossed with the 1:43.89. Certainly lots more to come from Venomars. The important thing right now is that he suffered no ill effects of that crash. Here's a look. Just a slip, it looks like. Fortunately, not near enough to Kojima to take him out. Hits the boards hard. And the next pair. I imagine there'll be some pucks, some lane markers to replace. Does seem to be okay. I'm sure there's a black cloud over his head a little bit, and he'll look through that. Piotr Michalski of Poland and Matthias Voste of Belgium. Voste was 20th after the 500, and Michalski 19th. They were separated by a mere 0.03 of a second. And their personal bests, about 0.3 of a second separating them. Still the time to beat at the moment. Hova Lorentzen 108.28. Through 200 meters, it's Michalski by a tenth of a second. Michalski 12th in the 1,000 meters at the World Championships in Calgary. Voste, I imagine we'll see. We could see Bart Swings in the all-arounds. Voste skated to an 18th in Calgary. Voste did the 1,000 and the 1,500. And it's now Voste by almost half a second. That is a big chunk for him. Big difference in the lap times. Michalski not really doing much to close that gap. It is going to be Voste looking like he is going to take the pair going away. And he will set a time 107.84 by almost half a second. He likes that. Goes to 4th overall. 107.84 is Voste. Very close to his own personal best time. 107.84. You're closing in on track record territory. 107.39 is the track record held by Kai Verbaai of the Netherlands. Verbaai pair already moving on. Martin Leave of Estonia and Ning Zhongyang. He's the one who I was underlining for this one. Potentially close enough after his opening 500 to surge up the standings in the 1,000. Of course, that man still to come. Verbaai, I mentioned, who has the track record second in the World Sprints 2 years ago, not here. And so Ning Zhongyang, second at the World Championships in the 1,000 meters. The World Single Distances, mind you. Just about a regular visitor to the podium or near the podium in the 1,000 and the 1,500. Is this his time to make a move? As we close out day one, it is Leave with the opening. 0.04 of a second faster than Ning. But now Ning, chance to shift, get into that draft. And we will see how he closes things up. Leave was 12th after the 500 meters. Ning was 5th through 600. Ning 0.05 of a second off the pace. Leave about 1/4 of a second off. Just 0.2 of a second separating them at the moment, but this is Ning's time to shine as an expert in the 1,000 and 1,500 meters. What does he have in reserve? I would imagine he tends to have quite a bit. Drops the arms to the line, and he goes fastest 107.67, and he likes that one. 108.44. And he goes atop the overall leaderboard for the moment. Closing in once again on that track record, 107.39. But Ning, I think he can be. We could see him. He was definitely satisfied with day number one. His 500 kept him close. And his 1,000 brought him right up there. Pairs left to go. And they're both, of course, big ones. On the inner lane is from the Netherlands, Kjeld Noos. David Bosa from Italy. This champion from Pyeongchang. And Bosa going to need pretty close to a personal best to take the lead. We haven't seen a lot of those, apart from some of the younger skaters. Bosa was 14th after the 500. Bosa's best results, though, are in the 1,000. For the most part. And of course, there are the exceptions. He was better in the 500 at the European Championships, but picked up his World Cup medal in the 1,000 in Salt Lake, while his 500 wasn't up to snuff on that day. And knows 0.06 of a second off the pace, gritting his teeth. All power from Kjeldnose. And at the bell, it is the man from the Netherlands in front. About 1/4 of a second off the pace. Bosa at a further 1/4 of a second behind him. Nose will get a draft, and he really is milking as much as he can before driving up alongside David Bosa. So it looks like, without question, if he can stay on his feet, Nose will take the pair. How will he finish up compared to Ning? And he goes 107.90. He is up to second overall. And considering he was 9th compared to Ning after the 500, Ning was 5th, Nose was 9th. He sits second overall. And that's only with one pair to go. So big move up the leaderboard for Kjeldnose. So at the moment in the overall, Ning Zhongyan still number one. One final pair to come. Winning Debo and Laurent Dubreuil of Canada. Dubreuil has that silver medal from the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. It's kind of Debo's coming out party of sorts at the European Championships, where he won the 500, second in the 1,000. He's just hanging around the podium, and when you're 20 years old, a long way to come, he is certainly one to watch for the future. It is Dubreuil with the fastest opener. Dubreuil was fastest after the 500 meters. Looking to be in the same position after day one as he was in 2022. These men were first and third through the 500 meters. Less than 0.2 of a second separated them at the bell. It is Dubreuil in front, putting 12 hundredths of a second ahead of Debo that lap. And Debo now has to chase one final time down the back stretch. We'll see what that crossover does. Dubreuil has the advantage into the home stretch, but here comes Yenning Debo. Almost side by side. I still think it's Dubreuil by a little bit. It's going to be Debo taking it by 0.03 of a second. They go 5th and 6th in the 1,000, but they are 1st and 3rd overall. So Dubreuil doing just enough to hang on to the lead in the overall classification after day number 1. Ning Zhongyan with the big jump from 5th in the 500 to 2nd overall after the 1,000. And so Ning wins the 1,000 and is 2nd overall in the sprint overall competition. It's a lot of overall, me repeating that word. But after day number 1, Dubreuil and Ning are 1 and 2. And we'll just get confirmation of the rankings. And so Dubreuil, as he was 2 years ago, 1st place after day number 1. Sidelined by a positive COVID test 2 years ago. And so hoping to finish the job he started in Heerenveen. Here's a look at the 1,000-meter winner. Look at the leader. 1,000 didn't really hang up with some of the others, but it's just enough for him to be in pole position heading into day number 2. Now is the recovery. And they'll be back out tomorrow. Of course, they have some podium celebrations. First, Dubreuil will be out for the 500, as will Debeau. Neither of them will be for the 1,000. We'll see if they beat a hasty retreat and get back to the hotel and start recovering as they leave Ning Zhongyan to get his 1,000-meter medals. Always the sportsman, Ryan Shimabukuro, the U.S. coach there. You often see him offering his congratulations to skaters from everywhere. There is the 1,000-meter result. Ning Zhongyan, winner. Matthias Voste of Belgium with a pretty darn good 1,000 meters. Kjeld Noos moving up with the 3rd in the 1,000 meters, which is where we anticipated he would make that move, as the 500 isn't really his thing. Debeau 4th, a tie with Hove Lorentzen, and Dubreuil there in 6th place. And the overall, after one event, Laurent Dubreuil, Ning Zhongyan, and Yenning Debeau, look at how close they are. It's the equivalent of 3/100ths of a second between Dubreuil and Ning. Tomorrow is going to be quite the day. Debeau in 3rd, Noos in 4th, and Kania rounding out the top 5. They're going to do some podium presentations, and then I'll be back in a moment to sign things off from day 1 at the World Speed Skating All-Around and Sprint Championships. This is day 1 of the Sprint Championships. I'm Gavin Day, back with you after we hand out the medals.
prize giving ceremony ITU World Sprint Speed Skating Championships. First 500-meter men.
1,000-meter podium after day one. You saw the 500-meter podium just before that, but it all comes down to tomorrow. One more day for all the marbles at the World Sprint Speed Skating Championships. Miho Takagi leads the way for the women. Laurent Dubreuil for the men. The whole other 500 and 1,000-meter still to come tomorrow before the World All-Around Championships this weekend. Going to sign things off for now from here in Inzell. My name is Gavin Day. Hope you enjoyed watching. As always, it's been a great pleasure, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.